Hello. I thought I will make a video about one of the things which is not so popularly spoken about healthcare facilitators. Now, I will not be able to speak for every other healthcare facilitator out there because I don't live their lives, but I know for sure on what I encounter on a day-to-day basis. And as I journey, as I move through what it takes to be a facilitator, a healthcare facilitator. And one of the challenges I face is while I provide sessions for people, to help them come into better states of health, I deal with the problem of looking like the person who does the work I do. That is, when people look at me, when they speak with me, it's different. But when they look at me, when they haven't spoken with me, they kind of expect me to look like the work I do. Now, the people who come for sessions, they tend to have, glowy skins, shiny eyes, and they show up in very beautiful ways in their own lives. And somehow they expect the person who's facilitating that to look somehow similar. Now, there's a certain myth there. I don't know how much this is true, how much other healthcare facilitators experience this, but I am speaking for myself and the experience that I go through and that I need to constantly deal with. And to give an analogy, a healthcare facilitator, at least I'll speak about my work, yeah? The work that I do is kind of like that of sometimes like that of let's say a pest controller or a soldier. Yeah. Now, let me give you the example of pest controller because that gives a little more grosser form of it. He or she takes the medicines and whatnots and goes out into the field where there are pests, knowing that they need to go and deal with what needs to be dealt with so that things are under control and things are fine. Now, similarly, a soldier, they take whatever they have, yeah, and they go out into the war zone to set something right, to bring peace, yeah. At least that's the way I see it. That's the kind of soldierism that I go about with. And I had, before I started my journey into active healthcare, I looked a certain way, certainly better in appearance and in countenance. But as I went about my work, I noticed that I am as much affected by what is happening in the field of work. It's like a soldier who goes into the war zone. It's like you're walking into a place where things are not so fine. And well, you can expect to get a few bruises, get a few cuts, be affected by what's there in the field because you're walking into that. If I was walking into a garden where there's all flowers and all these things, I'm less likely to be affected by, I'm more likely to be affected by the good, beautiful flowers and all those nice things that's happening there. Now, a healthcare provider is like that. They're actively working and constantly being there in a place where things are not so fine. And they're finding ways by which to hold on there while things are not working as well as they may not be, so that they can set things right, so that the field is now, people who are there in there are now doing better. So it's like, you've heard this adage, if you go into a coal field, you're most likely to get smeared with the blackness that's there. So one of the things that I need to constantly do is about, I didn't want to be working on looking like the person who facilitates health the way I do, because that seems to be one of the things I'm affected by, that you need to look like it. So much so that while I'm speaking about my work, it occurred to me that what I'm saying is less is kind of secondary to how I look. That I need to look a certain way to be saying anything of worth, and hence I need to put on makeup up and all kinds of things. And I noticed that I'm kind of drawn into doing these kind of marketing gimmicks. I actually found myself going and reaching for these makeup things, and that is not my idea of health. My idea of health is natural skin, in its own way. And sometimes I'm so overworked, sometimes doing a lot of things, that I don't have time to sometimes eat the way I need to eat, or maybe take as much rest as I should be. While I would recommend 8 hours of sleep, and drinking all these things, and eating all these things, I may not be as up to it as much as I need to be doing the different things in in having the kind of in meeting the milestones that I need to meet with. Yes, I would definitely need to spend more time on the food and water and rest and exercise. But I think a caretaker is a bit like the mother. If you've noticed your own mothers, they are managing several things at once. So much so that they may not be taking care of themselves the way they need to take care of themselves. They may not be eating as much as they should be. I mean, for the amount of work they may be doing, or resting as well, or drinking as well. It might have, if you noticed, a new mother and the baby is in constant need all the time. Yeah, and you ask about a new mother about how well she sleeps, and then you will hear a story on what it takes to be a mother. Consider that sometimes a caregiver, care provider, is something like a new mother, where the attention of a caregiver is maybe required 24/7. At least that's the experience that I have a lot of the time. And that I need to be available all the time. And in the process, I may not eat as well. I may not be drinking and sleeping as well as I should be. And so I look like the way I look. And then still managing to do what needs to be done, so that the the service provided is to my own expectation of what it should be, because that's my focus. And then providing that as much as possible. Now, I am not from a marketing background, so I need to work on being able to tell what I'm doing, so that people are aware of the work that I do. And my kind of work is not the usual. I have not met people who do the kind of work that I do. It's different. It's a sophisticated combination. It's a sophisticated blend of several therapeutic modalities. It's a form of healing. So, and I'm not from a marketing background, so I need to find ways by which to reach out my work to people, so that people are aware of what I do. And now the challenge I'm facing is I need to look like the one who does the work. And I thought it is important to sort of name this elephant that I'm constantly dealing with, while people may not be aware of what I'm dealing with here. So it's more like, there is this issue that is constantly that I'm facing with every time I come in front of a camera, and then I'm not telling it. Then I'm speaking over it without actually naming what I'm dealing with here. So here I'm doing this, and so I'm sort of stating the obvious, and then allowing for my own thinking, and maybe even it would be nice if there is some understanding about some of the aspects of what it takes to be a caregiver, care provider. And maybe you would look at me and other caregivers, care providers, with a little more understanding and compassion of what they're actually making available. These days, we have a lot of backlash on doctors across the country. We've heard about so many things. But there is something that each caregiver care provider brings to the table, brings constantly present, so that they are able to provide the best of what they can, with what they know of, to people. So I invite a compassionate, kinder understanding, as I find my way into making the work that I do available to people, so that we have more smiley faces, shiny eyes, and glowy skin, and people really showing up the way in their own potential, in the light, in the shine of who they really are and what they can bring into life. Thank you for listening.